It's been a pretty good first week for phone to email in the cohort 3 project. The goal was to get 15-minute interviews with people who are involved in doing deep work to better understand how they do it so we can figure out how our product might be able to serve them well. The goal for this first week was to reach out to the first customer community, basically defeat my lizard brain to actually reach out and make some asks. The first ask I did was actually over at MicroConf in the feedback request channel, which has about 100 people in it. And within 8 hours of that post, had somebody say, yeah, sure, let's talk. And they scheduled up using my Calendly link, which was really great. Based on the high from that acceptance, I also posted to 2 other Slack communities, including Virtual Coffee, which is a technical community, as well as Costarting, which is this community, and got multiple acceptances of these for these interviews, which is just fantastic. I've actually held 4 of those interviews so far. 7 of them total have been scheduled based on 3 different posts among these communities, and I've also done a 4th version of the post for Twitter, although the Twitter post hasn't produced anything for me just yet. Things I have learned in the course of having conversations both on the line as well as the back and forth going on in Slack include that deep work might be limiting my reach in terms of how I communicate this, although there might be strategic advantages to that later. The Slack tends to respond relatively quickly, so I should expect that if I put up a post, it's going to be useful, and then it's not going to be useful anymore, and I need to consider how I might do a repeat. And the third is that people who have responded tend to be people who have communicated with me before in some context on that community, i.e. giving seamlessly to getting. Next week, my plan right now is to talk to friendly individuals and ask them to be references to see if their contacts would be willing to communicate with me. I've had a few people volunteer to do that so far, which is fantastic. And we'll see whether those lead to interviews 1 level removed. For the group, I'd like to understand, maybe should I be changing my language based on deep work insight? Do you think there are other forums or communities I should be reaching out to, given that forum posting seems to have been pretty profitable thus in this first week? And then finally, if you have thoughts on this, how I can do interviews better. I haven't talked about that so much so far. I don't have a lot of the data yet, but I want to really maximize the value of customer discovery in these interviews. And if you have thoughts on best practices, I'd be most grateful.